everyone. Welcome to episode number 45 of Reptiles and Cocktails. I am very excited about this episode, and this is actually one episode that I think a lot of people ask a lot of questions in the backside about the dynamics of being married to someone who wasn't actually a reptile person, and then how we gradually got to where we are today in the reptile business and hobby. So I'm excited to be bringing on my husband today. He will be my guest for today, and I will answer a lot of those questions. So thank you for the early birds in the chat. I think Zach Bruh was the first. Hey Zach Bruh. So shout out to Zach and Alex. Maki, hey sis. Bosa, I see you. Bosa is being Bosa delivering Christmas gifts, so that's dope. Hey Mike. Dre, what's up, bro? Rock, hey Rock. Rock will be a guest upcoming soon. One of my husband's favorites, AJ or Fred. I think it's Fred. So my husband really they met in person the first Tinley trip, and was two people that he really bonded with. So I'm glad you guys are in the chat to support. Hey Morbid, Eric B. Good morning. Hey Brittany. Brittany, I haven't seen you in a minute. Hope all is well. Hey Matt. Hey Big E. What's up, brother? John, no H. Hey, John. Thank you so much. Make sure you guys are checking out John's show as well. He just started his new lives. John, if you can drop the link in the chat so everybody can see it. All right, and guys, we are actually on grandparents' duty. So if you hear kids in the back, we did the best. So we tell them to kind of chill out until we done this. But you may hear them in the back. Hey family, hey Keys, hey Keisha. They are out stepping there at the Orlando Repticon right now. No signal inside, but we couldn't miss this. Oh, dope. So, and hopefully you guys are going to go live after this. So they are at the Repticon. Shout out to Emilio Villarino Reptiles. And make sure you guys, if in the Florida area, are going to Orlando to support the vendors there, so they can make sure that they have a good show. With all the talk of a reptile recession, the vendors are doing really, really well this show. So go out and support them, and just, present yourself well and give great customer service. And those people who are doing it are still selling really well. So if for those of you who are not familiar with Morph Market, I have to keep in mind that there are people who watch this podcast who are not us. So for those of you who are not familiar with Morph Market, any vendor on Morph Market, you can easily search through the catalog and look them up and look for wonderful animals. There are so many nice sales right now on some of the animals on Morph Market. But if you are able to go to an actual show like the one today in Orlando, I would suggest that you do that, and see your snake in person before you purchase it. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and get it started. Thank you. John actually dropped the link there. So if you can copy and paste that and make sure you guys are subscribed to his channel, that would be really dope. And, I'm a fond believer of supporting those who support you. So to no further ado, y'all know we're going to rock out with our little intro music that I absolutely love. After that video plays, I'll be bringing on our guests. To you guys, it's G. To me, it's my babe. So we'll be bringing him on shortly. And this is going to be a good interview, especially for anybody who knows somebody who's struggling with that whole reptile dynamic. I've even heard things that I'll talk about when we get started about people just not even be able to find solid relationships because of their passion for reptiles. So we're going to get into all of that, and then just kind of let you know that it's possible and the growth of that person if you're patient. So let's go. All right, y'all. So welcome, and to no further ado, let me just fair warning, this is his first podcast as well. So definitely support. Keep the chats, or the chat is already jumping. I'll catch up with all of that. Thank you. Thank you for all the support. So we're gonna bring my husband on. Hey, babe.
Hey, everybody. Hey, everybody.
So the chat is jumping. Of course, all the families in the chat. You heard me say some of the people before we even brought you from backstage. But since then, we got Miggy. Hey, Miggy. Welcome, brother. That's one of my Aussie Patreon brothers as well. Hats and tails. Hey, look, don't kill me. I am horrible at getting to my post office box. I'm gonna get there Monday, I promise. So I have something there that I gotta pick up from you guys, and still something I have to ship off. So I know that Ken's package got to me last week sometime. I just haven't been there yet. So I apologize, but I'm gonna get there Monday. I'm horrible at that. I've been doing a lot of gun rings instead, but I'm gonna get to the post office. Thank you. So, babe, let's start off with just introducing yourself, as you know, outside of being my babe, who you are, my husband, and then just kind of like go straight into how we had pet reptiles before for years, but since the last 3 years we kind of got into building it to where it is today. So I want you to go back 3 years ago, and just kind of talk about how you felt when I went outside of the ball python. So forget busy and the ones that we had before that, and I started getting into the boas and the retics.
Well, as y'all know, I'm her husband, and I've been on this journey with her, supporting her, as much as I can. I love her drive. I love her passion. I love that she's following her dreams, and I'm glad to be a part of that. Um, with that being said, getting into snakes. I grew up in the South for a little while with my grandmother, and I've had some encounters with some snakes. Didn't know what they were or anything like that. I so I developed this fear for them, as most people probably. But and as years went on, I decided to stay away from snakes, until I met my beautiful queen, and she introduced me into snakes. And for some time, I still wasn't confident in dealing with them or even being close to them. So it was just one of those things where I was, I had to face my fear, especially seeing my granddaughter handling, snakes that, I felt like, she's not going to make me feel like, So I had to get the guts to finally say, you know what? I just want to touch it and see how it feels, because in my mind, maybe it's something that I'm thinking that's wrong. So when I touched it, it was an uncomfortable feeling at first because it was my first time. And she assured me that, the snake was okay, and showing me signs that, it actually, kind of felt me, so I started loosening up. Still not 100%, but one step forward, one step at a time. I have to make sure I keep my sanity and my anxiety, but it's been a wonderful experience as far as watching her purchase them, the care that she gives them, so it always, for me, it's exciting to do something that excites her, so yeah, I mean, the snakes alone, they're just, they're misunderstood, and myself being one, I misunderstood them. And as each day go on and I watch her and I learn that, they're, when you see people out in the jungle raising cubs, lions, and things like that, it's about the nature of what you're in at that moment. So I'm probably able to raise a cub to a lion, even though I probably never try it, but you know, it's no different from a snake. You just have to understand them, because the perception is they're so misunderstood. So, once I got over that, I started holding them more and, feeling comfortable, and actually started realizing that, you know, as much as I was stressing, it was the total opposite because they're so therapeutic that, you know, I just, you know, I find joy in them now and I understand them more. So, you
I'm
know,
gonna pause you there because
okay.
I think that's one of the things that I remember. So I used to always say to him, just I promise you, once you hold one, you'll forget you're holding it. It's so therapeutic, so therapeutic. So you can say that 1,000 times to somebody who don't want to touch a snake, right? So one of the milestones for me, and I remember telling him like it was one of the sexiest things he ever did was literally my birthday this past year. He said for months he was going to hold a ball python. Now my husband saying that he's going to hold any snake is just like in one ear and out the other. But when the days got closer, I realized he was serious. So the first thing I wanted to do that morning, if you remember, he did two things that he normally doesn't do. He walked 4 miles with me. And I think we snuck in an extra mile or something. I was like, one more. And I want him to hold the snakes. And I had all these gifts that he had coordinated with my team to bring to me. I didn't even want to open them yet because I didn't want him to change his mind about holding the snake. So right. That day, so the first Tinley, my husband fell in love with the Exantic ball python. He didn't know what it was, didn't know the name was. He just kept pointing out the same gene. Everywhere we went, I'm like, you must like Exantic. I wasn't into Exantic. So he said when we got back home, he was going to buy some Exantic snakes. So on that day, I said, well, won't you hold, you know, the first Exantic he got, which was the female. It was the Inchy Exantic, I believe it was. And he held that. And instantly, I watched what I say to anybody. His entire face changing, his whole feelings, like how he felt nervous, kind of go down. And then he pulled out more that day. So it's a video on my YouTube that if anybody want to go see it, that was a real day. That was like, this is not a staged situation. We're recording.
Not at all.
Live.
Not at all.
The first time he was going to be holding these snakes. Like even his reaction, like I didn't know what his reaction was going to be with anything. But for me, that moment was huge. That was bigger than any gift because literally it was like living with somebody all these years who even Busy, I think, like for all the time we had Busy, you never really touched Busy probably but once because it was one of them times that Busy make his grand escape and you know, you picked him up. But I will say that day changed a lot for me because if you're going to touch one, and I said that to him, you're going to touch more. And so a couple months after that, I don't even think it was a couple months, maybe just a couple months after that, he held the first reticulated python. Now, what y'all don't know, yes. Now, unlike ball pythons, he has never seen me a bit nervous about a ball python. He has never seen me ever concerned about a corn snake or even the boas for that amount. You know, like even when we had the little nippy boa when we first got Keiko's was a very defensive boa. It was like, look, we picking you up, you know. But when we got T'Challa, which was my first retic, which is the Motley Golden Child, which is the black one that people see that got the big iridescence to it. That was my first retic. So every time I would come to take her out, because I made it my business to take her out every single day. So after work, I would come home. Sometimes we would eat after, sometimes before, but we had to take her out every night. He was the one who had to come in with me. And I don't know, babe, if you remember the first time that I put her in a soaking tub. You saw it. I didn't. And he says T'Challa actually struck at the lid of the soaking tub. So we determined that then that she didn't like nothing being put over top of her head. But talk about that day, because like for me, I never saw it. So to this day, I never saw her, strike at anything really. So, but that day, like, did it change your mind? Like, oh, I'm definitely not touching these snakes anymore. Like, how did you go from that day feeling like, oh my God, you should see how big her mouth was too, holding Mystical on that picture right there is him holding my tiger pod retic.
So I feel like that day was, because I believe at the time it was one of the first biggest.
It was the first retic.
Yeah. So we had. I was wondering, like, okay, in my mind I'm thinking, what am I supposed to do if like so, but even with that, seeing that, and seeing the body language that it gives, and, understanding the signs and the warnings that, I seen. But but yeah, that definitely pushed me back a little bit further, to say, yeah, I'm gonna chill out for a little while, because it's kind of what I was thinking. But yeah, so it definitely made me feel like maybe what I feel like is real. But come to find out, it was just a welcoming thing, almost like a introduction to, I'm a snake. Nice to meet you. This is what I do. So, I was like, okay, you got that. That's your world. But
So, babe, I'm laughing at Will's comment. He said, "Man, I'm not a hair guy, but those lines are on point."
oh yeah,
Will,
man.
he's
You
serious
like?
about his hair all the
Oh yeah.
time,
Oh
like
yeah.
all the time.
Yeah. I've been using the same barber for about 20 years.
He
20
drives
years.
all the way to Baltimore to get his hair cut. Like, we
Yeah.
got barbers all around us here, but he takes the hair serious. So thank you, Will.
Yeah. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Fred said he reminds me of getting into snakes. I was afraid to touch the boa we used to have. Then I got a new
Neck massage.
neck massage from a ball python. Game over. Yes, I talk about that. I have a video about a good old ball python neck massage. Izzy is great at it. But before, I want my husband to share a story with you guys, because one of the things that for people who follow me understands that, like, gets on my nerves a little bit, is that people think that snakes are stupid, right? So I'm gonna have my husband tell y'all a story, because of course, I see everything because I'm the one dealing with these animals all the time. But I want you to share, babe, the story of the day that the green tree python, I had to take ownership that I must have left the door open and the green tree python got out of the enclosure. I was at work, right? So out of all the snakes that could have got out this house, the green tree python is the one that literally punked everybody in here, pretty much. So it had to be found, and I wasn't home. So my husband gets home first. But I want you to go through that story and tell them how you found the green tree python. And I want y'all to listen to this, because ball pythons ain't dumb either. Go ahead, babe.
Okay, yeah. So I was on my way in from work, and my son, he stopped me at the door because he knows how I feel about snakes
Right.
as well.
Because he
So
wasn't supposed to tell my husband. He's supposed to wait until I got home and just let
right.
me find a snake.
So the minute I got in the door, he said, did my mother tell you? And tell me what? Oh, the snake got out. Okay. Now we know a snake got out. Which one? Oh, the green tree. Okay. So at that moment, I literally had to go outside and stand on the porch to, like, figure out a strategy on how I even want to enter my own house, with this snake roaming around. So I sat outside, I get my mind together. She's not home yet. So while I'm sitting out there, I'm Googling where could green tree pythons be in a house if it's loose type, so couldn't really come up with a real good definitive answer to where I felt comfortable with. So I just took it upon myself to say, you know what, I'm gonna just start walking in really lightly and listening to see if I hear any type of movement, which I didn't hear anything. However, as I was looking, the snake that she speaks of, Busy, the ball python who had the longest,
Wait a minute. My spider ball python.
a spider ball python.
I just want that means something, babe. Go ahead and tell me the story.
Okay. So yeah, so he, as I'm searching, he was just doing the weirdest things in his tank that he typically don't do. And, I pay attention to Busy because, he's one of the first ones. And, I feel like I talk to him and he listens. However, I'm searching for maybe about 15 and 20 minutes. And every time I walk around in the same path and come back in front of Busy enclosure, he's doing something weird that he never does. He never like squirms on the back of his enclosure. He's always at the front of the glass. So I just kept saying, why are you acting like this? Why are you acting like this? So long story short, I just kept looking. And then when I noticed he was trying to, like, signal me to say, come over here, I walked over there and he started, like, squirming even more. So slithering and everything, like really acting not busy. So I said, man, are you trying to tell me something? Is this snake over here? So I backed up first because I wanted to make sure it wasn't by my foot or anything. Come to find out, I looked behind his enclosure, and the green tree is perched on the back of, behind his enclosure. And I called my wife and I told her, like, literally busy, really, because I've been looking for this snake for like 20 minutes. So busy literally was trying to give me signs to tell me, hey, he's over here. Come and get him. And then, once my wife got here, of course, when she got here, I just kept an eye on him. But when she got here, we removed them, busy went back to normal. And I just found it strange that, I'm so in tune with this snake being one of our first ones that he was able to actually show me or tell me or try to communicate to me that, hey, he's over here. So I found that pretty cool. And like, that was just another highlight that I felt like, man, snakes are really misunderstood. I don't say that a lot because I'm one of those ones that felt like, yeah,
it's just a snake. And so I love for him to have those experiences because really nothing more that I can say. Like I always say, your experience is your greatest teacher. So he experienced that for himself. Now, when he told me that, I shared a story with him about when one of the retics went on top of Busy's enclosures and how Busy freaked out. Like he did not like the fact that that snake was up there at all. And like he just literally freaked out. So for people who think that your snakes don't have emotions, feelings, they do. And we see it. Or the hindsight to be able to communicate to their best of their ability with you. That was absolutely historical for me because clearly my husband is convinced that he wouldn't have seen it anyway. Elias always say I'm bad to DMX, babe. Saying I don't give him credit for being kind. I will say shout out to MJ though, because this snake has literally had a different personality, hasn't he, babe? Like
I even noticed it. Yeah.
Yeah, like even in his position with just changing those temperatures, just 3 degrees on a day. And then in the night temperatures, the day temperatures drop and then the night temperatures go up. But he's a totally different animal.
Yeah,
so I will say that was factual, just that small adjustment. And even though his enclosure is huge, it's actually bigger than what I said it was. It's actually
I love the way your skin glowing on the camera. Oh,
what you say?
Sorry.
What you say?
I know.
So silly. Don't try to do a real interview, babe. Stop. You're gonna make me blush. But they talk about a lot of times we talk about how DMX act and everything, and MJ said on his short up night, you guys watch, change his temperatures. And when I made the change in his temperatures, it is a big difference with the snake, even down to how he ate the other day. That was one of the first times that he ate from the high perch. He normally would go even look to the low perch. So definitely something is different. So, all right, babe. So let's get to where you are now. So out of all the animals you have, which ones that we have, look, I put them on you, that we have, which one that you find is most impressive? Now, I'm not going to talk about like the ball pythons as the breeders, because I know which breeder you find most impressive. We'll get to that story. But out of the non-breeding animals, which ones do you find most impressive?
You know what? It's hard for me to remember all of the names, so many, but I believe there's one that you have like the photo of you're holding.
The retake, the Motley Tiger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's interesting.
Moana.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I like I like the colors and the patterns, and
Yeah, a lot of people say that because I would think that for you it would have been the cow retic at some point, but I can see as the older the Motley Tiger gets, she does become one of the most pretty because she has that greenish purple, like her color change.
I like the cow too because the thing is, watching it over time, develop more spots and things like that. It's pretty cool to see. So yeah, it's definitely one of the most interesting. But I like that one because it's just something about that snake when every time I go look at it, it's just, makes me be like, wow, like something like this was actually created.
Right. Now, do you ever think you would get that relationship with the monitors, the Tegels, or like want to actually like hold Larry or the Ackies or any of the monitors? Because I noticed that when it comes to the monitors, it's kind of like it was with the snakes. Hands off.
Yeah, I kind of gotta work my way into those because I see how they are, and um, I'm really trying to get like a grip on the snakes first. So it's like one step at a time, you
Okay.
know. So, and when I say steps, I mean like newborn. I mean not like baby steps. So it's more like I want to focus on the snakes first, and then maybe gradually get over to the four-legged friends.
And I think that's what's most important with this. I want everybody to like understand. I think it takes patience because one thing that even though I used to joke a lot about a
Hey,
lot of things,
cuz.
you see Shawnee's hey cuz so I think that for me, like I always kind of still respect his space too. So like he has a massive man cave. In a perfect world, it would be the best place for all of my snakes to be, nicely and organized and all of that. But that's always been his space. So I try to respect his space. Like nothing snake related goes into the man cave. Even though, I've made suggestions and, when he say no, it's like, okay, I don't push, so I'm patient with that. But also I'm respectful of the fact that literally I took over our whole living space. As far as like even looking back at a picture of one of our first Thanksgivings here when my brothers used to come up all the time, when the big dining room table was still here, the wall in that room was a different color. Like so many things have changed just on this level. So with those adjustments, how like with your patience with that, like how do, because I mean, in reality of these are things that just kind of happen. I really don't, once you say yes, I don't pry. Like, I don't normally like, well, what made you say yes? I normally
Right.
just run with it. Like once I get my yes, y'all, that's it. I'm not asking no more questions. So I'm using this opportunity to find out like how I know you was resistant to the dining room table. That was one of the things that you was resistant to. But now that it's gone, how do you feel? Like,
Well, I mean, like I said, it goes back to, supporting your dreams, and the things that that you love to do. Like, and I see that this is definitely not just a hobby, it's a passion, it's a dream of yours. And, like I said, anyway, I can support it, hell, move the refrigerator. We got to, whatever,
I
whatever
thought
necessary.
about that because then I could get
Yeah,
my
I'm sure you
MC.
did. Right. Yeah.
We don't need a
I'm sure
refrigerator.
we but yeah, no, it's just understanding that, this is definitely what brings you joy and, outside of me and just helping you live out your dreams, that's part of what I'm here for, is to be that, that support system. And, like one thing I can say is that, even though there's been changes, throughout the house as far as the animals are concerned, you can never come in here and feel like you're at a smell like a zoo or anything like and it's just one of those things like the upkeeping of everything like you don't let too much time go past before anything's getting clean. Like it's crazy, like you clean.
Yeah, because let's talk about that. Because the first thing, another thing that you was resistant to was when I said I'm going to breed rats, and you was like, "Hell no!" Like I'm
Yeah.
not doing that. My husband has horrible allergies. Number one, so then he was like, "Hell no! Where are you going to put him?" And then I'm like, "We're just going to change this bathroom into the rat room," and he just looked at me sideways. But then when you said yes, ran to Home Depot, here's the wood, and you built it for me. So I want to talk about the ways that you were supporting even before you touched the snake. So Larry, for example, we got Larry right before I had a major surgery, and I wanted Larry to, well, so we got him like that winter, and then that summer I was having a major surgery, and in that 6 or 7 months Larry had grown so much, so it was time for him to get his bigger enclosure. And I couldn't help, literally, because I was still bedridden at the time. And so I had said to my husband, I just, I get the anxiety. And I know I drive my babe crazy sometimes. Like when the animals don't get what they need, it will drive me crazy. I'm just not okay with that. Like if it's a light out, if it's a heat element, like something, we got to fix it. We got to fix it now because I'll just panic. And so at that particular time, it was a very sensitive time because of the kind of surgery I had. And then you just took that. Like literally, I said, my thing was get somebody to build it. That's so you wouldn't have to worry about it. You kept saying that you can do it. You knew you could do it. I knew you can do it. But once you did it, so if you guys have never seen my Asian water monitor enclosure, again, that's on my YouTube channel. My husband built that by himself with his own hands. Only thing I did was one day when I got better, I think I made the little like dirt bed or whatever,
Right.
like so I made that because I wanted, to be helpful at some point, but that's all I really did. And you did that by hand. Like, what motivated you to put all the detail into that enclosure? Because a lot of it was, again, I knew what I wanted. I gave you the basics, like far as sides, and then you just went crazy inside with the details.
Well, I mean, part of that is, having an uncle, rest in peace, that, taught me
Shout out
a lot.
Uncle.
Yeah. It taught me a lot how to, work with my hands and things like that. And, with building, you're also building imagination, So in building imagination, you start to create things as you go. And as I started building it, I knew it wasn't going to be basic because I'm not basic, respectfully. But, I just wanted it to be something that really stood out and put myself in the Asian water monitor mind to say, well, you know what? If I was living in here, what would I want? And I think a lot of times that's where, like people who build houses and things like that, they put that in there and they put their touch on it, even though the customer wants what they want, they put their little touch on it as well. So I felt like, there was things in there that would definitely be useful to him and beneficial to him. So I felt like, if I was the Asian water monitor, what would I want in here? What I would want to do this, I want to do that. I want to get this way from this way or from that way to this way. However, so like I said, as I was building it, I was also building my imagination on what I wanted it to look like and how I wanted it to turn out. And so,
Reptile life. Let me find out busy be snitching.
Right. He snitched on X, man. He snitched on X.
Shut up, Shawnees. Well, I will say, y'all, I was impressed. Like, so when I remember what it looked like when it was just the wood, me just barely being able to walk and point out stuff and him getting it together. And then he has a very detailed mind. A lot of times people always ask, like, when they point out special stuff that I have in here, I always say, my husband. Like, I don't even know the stuff is coming. Like this. I never knew that he ordered any of this. And he always have a creative way of supporting me in that way. So even before he touched snakes, the foundation of what we have, everything that's built up from racks to the racks to the water monitor enclosures to putting up the table tents to even all these big retic and berm enclosures. Like, that's who literally has to drive me to go pick them up, put them on, like, always supported me in that way. And I would say one of the greatest ways that you supported, babe, is the money we spent, right? So for years, me and my husband would travel the world. Then COVID happened. So in my mind, okay, instead of spending all of these thousands and traveling, this is the opportunity to build stock and get everything prepared for the business in the future. So I started buying, like, as he would say, something was being shipped here every single day. So I can be extra prepared, which I'm glad that we did that way, because I think now, those of you know that August 10th, I retired. And I think that coming to you, first of all, I want to talk about that. When I came to you and said, babe, this is it. Like, I think this is it. As a wife who's always been a professional, I didn't know what his reaction was going to be. Like, have you bumped your head? Did you lose your mind? Like, you just can't give up, this amount of money per year and stuff like that. But your response, and not just in that, in a whole lot of life experiences, but particularly that day when I said to you, it was something that when I looked at you, babe, you knew that I meant that. Like you knew I meant that shit, because it was just like. So
Yeah.
how did that feel when I said, babe, this is it? I'm giving my notice. This is going to be it. This is the last ride. I'm ready to do this full time and focus on the business.
Well, it's crazy because I kind of seen it coming, and you know, I was just waiting for the time, but I can see that it was coming. However, you know, when you started speaking of it before, you know, I wanted to get more into, okay, let's get things in place, get things situated for, you know, for your next, you know, your next passion, your next dream, your next, you know, business plan, and which not your next business plan, but our next business plan. So, you know, for me, it was, you know, long as I knew we was ready, you know, I was ready, you know. So I didn't really give it a whole lot of thought because, like I said, leading up to it, you know, we had conversations, things like that. So, but when I knew when you were, you know, you was ready. I knew you when you were ready, and you know, I was ready. So we went
Yeah,
through
I
it.
mean, even that, like, I think when you always surprise me, like some things where, because contrary to what y'all may believe, the one person that I am kind of like, you know, nervous to approach with certain things is my husband, because everything rides on us. Like we do everything together. Like we're not, we do everything together. So like it has to have his 100% support in order for me to do it. And so if I want to say anything, like I hear sometimes people say, well, I'm gonna do it anyway. You can't. Like if you don't have that person 100% support, like not necessarily agreeing in the total vision, but just the support of that person to say, okay, all right, I'm good with this. We're giving this a try. We'll give this a whirl. It's not fair in a relationship to say, because it is my passion, I'm gonna do it anyway. What I've learned is kind of like bring it in incrementally. Like I wouldn't have bought retics before the boas and the burns. I think that would have been like, have you really lost your mind? Although you probably had that moment anyway, but like that would have been just like we just going from a little 3-4 foot snake to a 20-foot snake. That don't make sense.
Right.
But when it came down to the fact that, okay, now I'm going to, you know, we're going to cut the umbilical cord on the career and move forward to the focus, because that takes literally like a redesign of how we even, you know, we live, you know, because whereas money constantly coming, we got to kind of balance and manage what we have
Right.
to also make sure that we establish a solid business. So that when I think that because of all the other decisions that I did not make hastily, when it came to me coming to you, and one thing, y'all, my husband can read me without me even knowing I'm being read. He knows, like he just knows. Like I don't know how he knows. He just knows. Like things just fall in line with him. It's like truly, I believe that God does something there that makes him totally connected with me, and it's like he's in my mental headspace sometimes. But also when I'm talking to you, like I can tell when your responses are truly supportive, or if I'm getting the one that's just supporting me because that's going to make me happy. When I came to you with that, I felt 100% support. And one of the things, and I said this to you the other day, that just fills my heart is when you just look at me and I'm in here doing something with the snakes or something, and you just come and you be like, I'm just so proud of you. Like more than what anybody else can think of where I'm at and what I'm doing. When you say those words to me, it just literally like ignites another part of my fire, another part of my soul. Like even if I feel like, you know, some days like, is it too much, you know, or was this the right decision? It always kind of like flames me into like, yes, like this is the passion. This is what we designed. And even down to like having everything we need. I don't need to buy another snake. I would like to buy more snakes, but you know, I don't need to. I have all the genetics that we need in the ball python rat. I have all of the reticulated pythons that I wanted. I have everything as far as monitors and everything that I have. I think the only animals in here that I have no desire once they die off to replace is the tarantulas. And we talked about that. I love the tarantulas because they're pretty, but I like animals I can engage with. And honestly, I don't engage with the tarantulas like that. I've been feeding them crickets, giving them water. It's no like, oh, little cute little tarantula like I am with the other animals. You don't even see them that much.
Right.
So I will say this though, if you had like right now today, knowing what some of my dreams are, and we talked, kind of about this too. Like, what do you see in the future for the business? Like, and how do you think that we can take it to the next level?
I mean, like seeing what you're doing now, I feel like, if we stay the course on, the things that we're supposed to do, like you're doing, you know, I mean, it could be, very lucrative, which is my favorite word. But, I feel like, it's more about educating people because, you can breed and breed and breed, but to sell it to someone who's not educated enough to take that snake, they can purchase it, but, are they actually going to take care of it? Like the way that I see that you do, so, education, more education, and the sky's the limit, so.
And we talked about this specifically about the retics recently because initially when I got the retics, it was to breed them, and everybody, kind of knew that. And then when I got to really having them, I was like, I don't want people to have them who is not going to let them live like they live here.
Yeah, you say that all the time.
Yeah, like they're not animals that should be caged. And Babe sees like some of these retics are spoiled. We can walk in this room and they will literally come to the glass to like say, open the door. Like they will put their head there like in a point, like to open the door and they come out. Right now, Hefe is ready to come out if I open this door right now. So he gets to see a lot of that too. Like the intelligence that they use to communicate with us is incredible. But if it was anything that or any animal that we have, let me go this, the ball python rack. We know who your favorite animal is. Well, not even your favorite animal, because I don't think it's your favorite animal. I just think it's the greatest investment that we made. And that's the one that we recently got when we were in Tinley. So Babe actually makes sure, even if we out of state, that's the animal we check on to make sure all of the temps and the racks and everything, we find a favorite animal in each rack. That's the first one he wants to be checked on to make sure that everything is
all day,
okay.
every day.
Mm-hmm. So like Mike, remember, Mike, Wiz, shout out to Mike, Wiz, Keys, and all the people who were very influential in letting him allow me to make that purchase in Tinley. But when I tell you that animal is definitely like house bands, can you go check on bands? Michael, check on this one. We do that when we out of town. That's the animal has to be checked on first. So I think it's absolutely hysterical. But outside of that, I know Busy. So Busy is the spider ball python, and y'all know that's one of my favorites. And there's a lot of conversation about not reproducing spiders, but I did choose to be breed Busy to one of our Irie pastel females because I was going to make bumblebees with her. Now, if Busy is the father, that's great. We did kind of switch the course for that because I wanted to switch up where I was breeding her for not those purposes because I still want spiders. Spiders will be in my collection, whether they're for sale or if I'm just making them for me. It's going to always be one of my favorite animals, and I say that all the time. And I say that's for a message to anybody. If that's what you like, then you breed it. Just know the risk of breeding them, and the risk of not being able to sell them if you overproduce them. One of my other questions, Babe, is like, what would you tell, like, in a relationship where there's two people and the one person does not care for that other person's passion? Like, how did you, other than kind of like learning about the animals and seeing how that they are, I will say this is a difference now. You actually kind of are passionate about these animals too, whether you know it or not. Let me tell you how I know as your wife. You will come and notice that something needs to be corrected in the husbandry, just like I would or Michael would. Like if you see something wrong with the temperature or the lighting or anything like that, you'll notice it and you'll make sure it gets corrected. So you're starting to create a like only get your own passion for them as well. Do you ever foresee being more hands-on with them, like in the future, maybe once we actually start breeding, maybe the ball pythons? Like, do you think that you'll actually cut eggs, for example?
Well, to answer your first question,
Mhm.
I would say that, the best way you can support them is, by doing things like I do. It's the little things, like you don't have to automatically touch them to be able to understand that there are certain things that you're paying attention to that's not right, because, you have to kind of like be the eyes and ears as well. So, I feel like, that type of support goes a long way to eventually, just having that curiosity to want to say, hey, what am I monitoring? What am I monitoring? What are all of these things that I'm monitoring, these things that I'm monitoring? What do they do? What are they, what's their personalities, thing like that. So it becomes, for me, those was the steps that I took, helping in those little ways, then gradually having that curiosity and that confidence to want to actually touch one and, cure my curiosity. So that, I would say is a good part, of the support system that and to answer your second question in regards to more hands-on, I honestly feel like I will, because I'm getting more and more into them, and more hands-on with them, helping you clean them and things like that, and also seeing the responses that they give me and
Mhm.
understanding those responses. And so there's even been a time where, you remember, I went over there and bravely took one out on my own. So to do that, I really, I got myself gassed up enough to say, you know what, I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna surprise her and take one of these out myself. For a minute, I couldn't understand which one I wanted to take out, because I didn't know if I opened it, what exactly was gonna happen. But I remember listening to you and things like that, and you breaking down to me that, oh, this one, is an angel, is a sweet, and so I did it, So I do feel like I can, get my hands on more of the snakes in due time, So
Okay. All right. So if it was, is there any animal that we don't own that you would like at some point to see that we have the ability to own? We know the alligator is not one. I know that's out.
well, that was gonna be my, so yeah, so the fact that we have a pretty interesting home already. So I feel like, you know that we're good. We're good. I
We're
mean,
good.
because eventually they're going to start producing. So
Yeah.
we're going
Yeah.
to be welcoming more into the house. So I think we're good.
So
We
Eden
don't
said,
have any
Lady
problems.
Tiz and Mr. Tiz, I wanted to stop by and say hey and show my support. Currently at work, but y'all have a great life. Thank Eden. Eden is a big
Thanks.
supporter to
Appreciate it.
everyone like Bosa is.
Appreciate it.
Really appreciate that. Okay.
Mm.
So if ultimately the business is going where it is, you have done some also taking some amazing trips with me and becoming, more communicative. Like I'll use Aussie for example. The bond that we've all kind of created through this whole educational piece, I'm sure that's a big piece of it too, because Ozzy is very candid with my husband about where this business can go. He's very candid about how we should be, focusing on the future and investing. But my husband was with us at Bigger Pockets, which I would recommend anybody to go. My husband went. And he kept saying, like he wished he had even gotten more involved into that piece of it. But those experiences being around some very young multimillionaires, who've invested their income, or some people who didn't, they borrowed the money and then created the business. Like, what is your insight now? Like, all right, we know we're going to do the snake business, but like, can you talk a little bit about, not, my husband is not as open as I am, but can you talk a little bit about like some of our goals with producing snakes and utilizing the money to create other passive incomes?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, everyone should have multiple streams, at some point in their life. It just, helps the process of living, especially in an economy like this. So, yeah, I definitely feel like we can, we're definitely going to be venturing out to other things and, other opportunities out there. We're drawing up a game plan. And like you said, I don't really like to count my chickens before they hatch. So, with me saying that, I feel like, the opportunities are there, we just have to, like I say, stay the course and, we we as long as we put God in front, those things, and we're gonna be fun, and we're gonna, I'm very optimistic about the future, um, and part of that is watching you handle, these snakes and the other animals and reptiles. So, oh, and shout out to Ozzy too. Like that's my guy. He's definitely a real one. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's just the sky's the limit. There's just so many opportunities out there to build off of, and
Right.
make the brand bigger. So, I'm all on board with,
All
right,
right.
the
So,
wheels fall off.
well, yeah, because this is to die for, right? Somebody dies. No. No, I absolutely love the fact that people always ask though, and I get inboxes from all kinds of people, and they'll ask like, "How is it that you were able to get your husband to do this?" And I just never did. It's like it was something that naturally happened on its own. I think that ultimately, any man's and any woman's goal in their marriage is to try to find a thing that makes the other person happy or happier.
Right.
So from the outside looking in, I mean, we were straight, we were good, but I would tell you that my husband would have to agree. I'm at my happiest now. Like I cannot express to anybody, and I almost say this loosely, like we get so caught up into or hostage into a job, but when we have our own passions that can make money for us, then we need to put that same energy we put into that job into our own passions. And I
Right.
get to do that every single day. Like I wake up some days, and my husband, he's really good at keeping me humble. I always tell y'all that. But some days I wake up and I just laugh hysterically, like this is my life, like this is my life. And thank God, because he has to be the buy-in to that, because he got to keep, if everything crashes, he got to keep it afloat, right? But I wake up some mornings and I just look at him and we look at each other, and I can't believe that I would have ever been here. I knew I would, like at some point further on down in life, but I never knew that it would be today. And it's just so freeing for both of us. It's just put us in a better place. And I definitely try to stay humble to that. But I will also say, share the dynamics of, I always say that my husband is also a good person when it comes to financially not spending it all. I'm different. I'm like, look, we can die tomorrow, let's go ahead and spend it all. But he's always been the one who kept the ace in a hole type of thing. So that comes from what, babe? Like, what would you say makes you like that? Like, makes you not throw everything to the wind?
I'm just, I've always been one of those people, even growing up in school, it was just always, you know, I, I just believe in never, like always planning. You want to, like they say, you live for the day, but you plan for tomorrow. So I just feel like I never want to feel like you if you lose it all, that's just it. That's all. You lose it all. I mean, it's no thing to try to get it back, but to have it and maintain it, is important, because I always tell my friends this: if a person can't manage $1,000, they can't manage $1,000,000. Because it's not about the money, it's about the management. And I'm just I've always been like that, So I think it's just naturally just a mindset, because you know coming from, just places in life and situations that actually made sense, you know, like seeing certain things, or, seeing people that go through things that you learn, and what you had in mind, you stick with and say, that's the reason why I feel the way I do about things. So I've always been really preserved.
Did you see Shawnee's comment?
What she
Blood
said.
in, blood out. Love it,
Yeah.
cuz. We grow and we know, don't we, Ken? Yep. Just going
But
through the
yeah.
comments, trying to catch up with the comments. All right. So my final question is for you. First of all, thank you for doing this interview. My husband doing the interview, y'all, is equivalent to Bosa doing the first interview. Like, if it's the reason why he's very behind the scenes, other than like, some of the usual suspects, you don't even hear my husband's voice a whole lot because he's chill. He's polar opposite from me. That's why, the calm and the storm, we're good together. As your wife, I will say that in order for me to make the decisions that I made this year, I would have had to been with the God-given person that God appointed me to make me 100% confident in that decision. So I thank you for being that person. I do think that it's so much more in store for us when it comes to what we're doing, and I can't wait until like I always said, the next 2 years is going to be really exciting because it's going to set a platform for us to where our future will go with the ball python business and the reptile educational business. But if there was one thing today that you see that I needed to do more of or do less of to kind of keep myself balanced, what would you think that is, if anything?
As far as business,
Yeah.
um, I feel like that there's always more steps we can take with anything in life, but the biggest thing is marketing. Market more, get yourself out there. Maybe give me a sign that I can flip on the corner. Something. But no, I feel like you're going in a good direction, and like I said, I'm here to support you. So we that marketing thing, we're gonna get that down. We're gonna get, it's all in due time. But I'm very optimistic that we'll have all of that and more.
Yeah, so if you guys don't know, like all the marketing and things that I do, normally that he's the creative mind behind it, but it's not something that I'm really big on, but he's very creative with that kind of stuff. So definitely something that, I want to do more. Like, I'm not really even big, although I'm big on social media, I'm not big on like even doing the reels and stuff like that. That's new to me. Like, that's something that I'm just trying to be more creative with, and Babe help a lot with some of those ideas as well. So, but I do understand that it's a big part of what we do. One of the things that I really appreciate my husband for is just being a very strong and solid man, and not like one of those men who are so stupid, dumb, insecure that I can't grow in a male dominated reptile community. And so one of the things that I love is that, he embraced my community, which is, most of my brothers, the usual
Yeah, shout out to
suspects.
all of them. Shout out to all of them.
Yeah.
Y'all know who y'all are. We, from day one, I'm sorry to cut you off, babe, but when you
Go
start
ahead.
talking about the associate, but like from day one, like we just clicked and they embraced me, and likewise. And from that day, I always look forward to the next event to be able to hang out with them. And each event I meet someone else new, and it's an amazing camaraderie that y'all have, and a bond that y'all have. And I'm just glad to have met a lot of y'all, some who I haven't met yet, who I will get to meet in the future, but for the ones that I've met, shout out to all of y'all. Y'all always make me feel comfortable, and even understanding that my reptile, information isn't all of that, but I'm glad that y'all are patient enough to talk to me and keep, have that patience to just teach me things because I'm willing to listen, I'm willing to learn, so shout out to all of y'all, that I've met.
Yep.
And, shout out to the people who I've yet to meet that I'll meet in the future, but everybody keep doing your thing. I just thank y'all for supporting my wife. This is big for her. When I look, like, and I see, the amount of, love that she get, it's overwhelming for me because I know it means the world to her. It really does. Like she talks about, her groups, her channel, everything she talks about it. And I'm willing to listen because I know that, y'all are, y'all are there for her. So I appreciate it. Just thank y'all.
Totally agree. Definitely shout out to all of my brothers, the usual suspects, all of you. Dre, for just definitely being supportive with Two Pieces of the Podcast, which was something, again.
Shout out to you, Dre.
Yeah, like literally having that person who just, say, I'm here for you, I'm gonna ride for you. I got this following. We're gonna do this together to help build you up, and who's been there since day one. Just so many people who have supported through this, and like you said, baby, who got mad respect for my husband and what he does for me in the business as well. I'm truly blessed. But I hope, like, listening to my husband, that helps some of you who've had those questions, or someone who will watch the playback and, you're having that struggle of, this is my passion, but it's not the passion of the person I love. I think if I can sum it up, babe, at the end of the day, that if it's your passion, the person who loves you, y'all won. And even though, you have your own individual passions that I have nothing to do with, some of them that we share together. And then there is, my passions that, we are involved in each other's enough to make sure that, we touch on it, but we are still two individual people. And I think that at the end of the day, when you take those two individual people in their imperfections and bring them together to live out of the dream the way that I'm living out my dream today, because I couldn't do it without my husband, y'all. Like, to be able to wake up every single day and do nothing but animals, I couldn't do it without him. And like you said, the support that even when it comes to, like, right now, with the grandchildren and things like that, just how you are so supportive and just backing me up on everything, every decision in life that I've made. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for that man right there. So if anybody is having that challenge, what I would just say is be patient. Let that person be as much as a part of the passion as they want to be. And eventually you will see that even though it's not their thing, they will be 110% supportive to you, and that it will grow and grow and grow and become what it is today. I am living a little girl's dream right now. And it's just so crazy that sometimes, like, even sitting here doing this, sometimes it's unbelievable. When I'm doing these podcasts, the podcast was a dream of mine. That was something I said I wanted to do over a year or so ago, and it's been very successful for me. And I thank all of you guys who support directly or indirectly. Though some of you have reached out to, kind of structure sponsorships. Let's do it. I didn't feel like last year was my place to do sponsorships. I didn't have the subscribers that I have now, but now I feel like you would get something out of it. So if there's someone who wants to rethink and, regroup and do some sponsorships, I'm willing to do that and make it, where it's reasonable and profitable for the both of us. But I thank everybody for tuning into this episode.
Mm-hmm.
It was really great. I think, again, a lot of people always wonder about you, babe. The people who don't meet you in person. For those of you who do want to meet him in person, I always say, get the vacation, babe. You got to come to Tinley. That's when you're probably going to get him most relaxed when he's out there hanging with the crew. And again, Tinley is a good place to educate anyone in your life about the joy of what this is. I remember the first time, babe, you was like, this is like a real conference. Like, this is huge.
Yeah, it was like, amazing.
Yeah, you got to let your other person see that, bring them along. You can't leave them home because they'll never be able to see what that part of it is about. But it's definitely, I agree. this community is definitely infectious. It's very supportive, and we're growing. And we have to continue to look into the positive growth of the reptile community. Continue to make our wonderful animals, and continue to utilize Morph Market and our other marketing sources to make sure that we are educating other people about reptiles. Because at the end of the day, in order for all of us to be successful, we got to bring more people into the community and keep bringing those people into the community at the end of the day. And I support everybody who support me. So I thank you all for tuning into this episode.
Yes,
Next week,
again.
yes, stay tuned. We're gonna have Robbie. Robbie's gonna be on next week, babe, from Red Hair Reptiles. Who
What's
Robbie
up,
is
Robbie? Shout out to Robbie.
has Red Head Reptiles, and Robbie is actually the manager for Aussie Boys. So you get to hear from Robbie, who is also very quiet. And I believe this is Robbie's first interview. So Robbie is kind of laid back, but I can tell you he's a lot of fun. We got to enjoy him down in San Diego as well. And then after that, we're going to have Jim Jolly, who is the breeder for most of my retakes. You've heard me talk a lot about Jim Jolly. Jim Jolly is going to be on Christmas Eve. He's going to be my guest at 1 o'clock p.m. on Christmas Eve. So for all of my ball python and retake people, you can definitely jump into that one because that's going to be a good one too. You get to hear some long-term. Jim has been in the retake business for a very long time. He's also breeded Burms and other animals as well, but his main thing is the retakes, and I like for him to come on because I talk about him a lot and about the greatness in the retake experience that we have. I truly believe that our animals that we have from Jim Jolly are top notch in husbandry and behavior. So I'm looking forward to that. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Miggy. I appreciate you all. So we're gonna say peace. We're gonna go ahead and get the grandkids and get back to life. And I appreciate all of y'all's happening this Saturday. See you Monday morning at 8 o'clock a.m. With me and DW Exotics for 2 Ps in a podcast. Peace.